Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 24 of Parenting Autism. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Chris.
Why do you always laugh at me?
Because you sound so formal when you're giving an introduction. It
That's
just kind of makes me laugh.
That's my wannabe radio voice.
Okay. Well, hello, and hello to everyone who may be tuning in and listening to the podcast.
I think you married me because I'm partially silly.
I do think that's an attractive quality that you have. I agree.
What are we talking about today, Sandy?
Well, today's headline will be talking about the dairy-free, gluten-free diet that we have introduced to Bryce in a more extreme, more disciplined level.
Uh-huh.
And I know we've mentioned it occasionally in the past few months, especially since we made the changes in the spring. But I feel like dedicating one episode and titling it that way may be able to attract people that are thinking about it or people who have experienced that with their own child. You know, just to kind of share our viewpoint is basically it. I've had some questions come in, and you know, I've had questions come in about why we did it and what kind of meals does Bryce eat and what kind of results that we're seeing. And so I thought we could share some of that.
Yeah, I think we have been very fortunate with Bryce and his foods that he does eat, where he doesn't really complain about a lot of things. And it all started early with him. I don't know, maybe when he was started to eat solid foods, I would just tell him to open up his mouth and I would just put something in there and see what his reaction was. And,
yeah, like peanut butter?
Well, yeah, he went to the hospital for that one. But, you know, other than the peanut butter, it's been very successful.
I play.
Yes, I know. But, you know, I'd say 80% of the time he gets a yucky look on his face.
That's
but
true.
He eats it. And some things he has come to like, you know. And so I'm very fortunate to be able to do that with him when I'm helping him eat. You know what I mean?
I do.
I feel like we have a winner in that department.
Well, it has been one of the, it's less of a struggle than other areas we have, for sure. Sometimes I feel like, I feel a little bad because I would not push as hard as you do. But then I'm glad that you do, because you end up getting him to eat more things than I would. Just
Right.
because I would cave and be like, oh, he really doesn't want to eat that. But it's good that, I don't want to say you force it, but you definitely strongly encourage it, and you make him take at least one bite.
Right.
And
I'll tell him to open his mouth, and if he doesn't open his mouth, I'll tell him sternly to open his mouth, and then I put whatever it is in his mouth.
Well, and then you threaten to take his iPad or whatever's entertaining
Well, I
him.
ask him if we need to pause his iPad because that may be a distraction to him, and he gets that. So he doesn't want his iPad paused either. So that is an incentive for him to eat, but it never comes to tears.
No,
it
it
never.
doesn't. No,
he
that's
never
what I'm saying.
says.
It's never like
he
that.
never screams, "I don't want that."
Nope. He just makes that face like, ugh, why am I eating this?
He might turn his head.
But he chews it. He doesn't spit it out.
No, he doesn't spit it out. Which,
then
goodness, that's
you'll
great.
ask him if he wants another one, and sometimes it's no, and sometimes it's yes. But
Yeah.
at least he's tried it.
And since we've been giving him his own plate for dinner,
Yes.
he knows that he has to eat what's on that plate. You know, he knows he's not done until he eats everything on the plate.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I do feel like that is one thing that we have changed. Because until we really made these changes in the spring, we basically let him graze, which means we'd leave stuff out for him and he could come and go and eat it when he was ready. not sit down with us at the same time. Or we would feed him off of our plate a small portion, or, he had his own thing going on. But now we've got his little plate that has a section for his protein and a section for his veggies. And so he basically sees it, and it's like, this is what you're going to eat. And then when you're all done with this, there is an incentive on the flip side. Usually it's a gluten-free, casein-free cookie that seems to work for him. And if that's the motivation to get him there, it's a little cookie and it gets all his protein and veggies into him. We're really fortunate that combination works. One of the reasons, you're going to say something. I'm sorry.
I just also want to say, and I don't know if this has anything to do with him liking such a variety of foods that he does, but we never introduced him to candy, really. We never pointed out in the store. As a matter of fact, when he goes in a store, he doesn't even know where the candy is. He's that oblivious to what a candy bar is. And I'm so grateful for that, because here he is 5, almost 6 years old, and he's got a great mouthful of teeth with no cavities, And we've seen in the past that, some kids that are on a lot of sugar, that's all they want is sugar, and it's hard to get them off of that. So I think we've kind of already won that battle in a sense, to where he doesn't ask for sugary things, and he doesn't really know what a sugary thing is even.
He doesn't crave it. And, that kind of comes before the autism. I didn't want him to have a bunch of candy because I grew up on candy. It was crazy. That's what we had a neighborhood store, and you'd buy a quarter and you'd run to the candy, or a dime, you'd run to the candy store and buy candy. And I have a lot of fillings in my mouth that testify to the fact that I ate a lot of candy, and I did. And I didn't want that for him. And it can be addictive, and it can affect your behaviors as well. And I think about, I grew up in the 70s, but we had Kool-Aid, which was straight up sugar and then the dye color, No wonder my mom probably kept us outside because we were bouncing. But I just didn't want that for him. So it is good that he doesn't know that. He will see a lollipop and he'll say, "Oh, candy." And then I just say, "Yeah, that candy's not for you. It makes you sick." And it makes you sick. And he's totally cool with that. So that has been good. I'm sure that foods that you eat affect your taste buds and affect what other foods you are open to eating. I guess I should say it that way. The other thing, and I do want to elaborate on that a little more. The other thing I was going to say before we went there was, I also feel that one of the reasons why Bryce eats a larger variety of food than other kids that, I've talked to their parents, is he's a sensory seeker. And the more I study about that, I find that he wants things in his mouth. He seeks, like crunchy things. And, if there's not food in his mouth, he was eating on his shirts, which,
that stopped.
That stopped because I believe it has stopped, not only because we kept saying it, but I really think because we gave him something for his mouth, and we gave him those crunchy chips.
Yeah.
And, here he comes. Hold on, people. Hi, what happened?
What happened?
What's going on? Is your movie off?
Say hi to everybody.
I need to watch a movie.
Are you watching your astronaut movie?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's pause for a minute, and I'll go get it back.
Yep, we'll pause our show. And
hold that station. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and Bryce has his movie back on.
Yes.
He hit a wrong button, and
he's all about the movie First Man, which is about the astronaut Buzz Aldrin.
Was it Apollo 14? I mean, Apollo 11?
No, Buzz Aldrin. Yeah, the first man to walk on the moon.
Yeah.
And he's very interested in that, which is kind of funny because he's never really been interested in movies before, but he is all over that one. But back to topic, we were talking about the sensory and then him eating the crunchy foods so that he would stop eating his shirts. And I think that has contributed to him not eating his shirts as much. Thank God. And but I do notice he still puts his fingers in his mouth a lot. So he's always seeking something. And that's with his mouth. That's with his hands. I mean, I notice that he always has his hands on my leg, on your leg. He likes to feel touch, and that's why he likes hugs, and he desires touch versus not wanting to be touched.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll even give him a cup of chipped ice.
Yes, crushed ice, and he likes that a lot.
Crushed ice for the crunchiness.
Yeah. So that's one thing that we tried to do when he started eating the collars of his shirts, was try to give him, he was seeking something, for his mouth. So I think that's another reason why he's willing to put more things into his mouth and doesn't complain as much about textures, just because he seeks that sensory input. And that's what I'm saying about that. But what were we saying before? I'm so sorry.
Oh, we were just talking about how he's not on sugar, and that he has that
and
sensory.
So that has changed his palate. So that's where I was going to lead in with, the changes that we've seen since we put him on this diet. We have mentioned before with the dairy specifically that his skin cleaned up and his nose stopped running.
Right.
And, I believe he definitely has some sort of allergy to dairy product. Or to dairy, something in the dairy. I don't know if it's the lactose. I don't know if it's the casein, but something affects him. And so that has been really positive in that way. The gluten, when we added that element as well, that was removing most of the foods that he ate every day, which were mac and cheese, grilled cheese.
Yeah. You know what? And I think early on, he did have a select few foods that he would eat before.
Carbs and cheese.
And so it was pizza, it was nuggets, it was fries, it was, the typical 2-year-old diet.
Well, what you see on a child's menu when you go to a restaurant.
True.
Because they know what the kids are going to eat.
Right, and it's mostly not good.
It's mostly that.
Yeah.
So... I think when we removed those from his diet and from his palate, it opened it up to more flavors. And I really believe he will eat broccoli now with no complaints and without making the ugly face.
And listen, the broccoli does not have anything on it either. There's no salt, no pepper, no
it's straight
butter.
up steamed because that's the way I like it.
And he eats it just like that.
Yeah, we don't butter it because we're not putting the dairy on there. So, we watched this one documentary about a family that had put their child on this particular diet. Because I have to tell you, we were skeptics as well. And when Bryce was first diagnosed when he was 2.5, that was one of the first things that we were told. Change his diet. And I had actually witnessed this be a positive thing for our nephew, who was also diagnosed when he was 3, but this was like back in the early 2000s, and when it wasn't quite as prevalent as it is today. And they changed his diet, and it totally changed his behaviors, because where he was in a fog all the time, and nonverbal, he started talking, he became more alert, and, major changes for him. And so he abided by that diet, and with... what were the things that he took? That broke it down.
The
enzymes. Thank you. I was just escaping. No, he took enzymes. That was it.
Storm?
Yes.
Yes.
So, he would take enzymes if he ate out and it wasn't gluten-free, dairy-free. Then he would take an enzyme to break that down so that it wouldn't affect him. And he wouldn't have, as they would call, a meltdown or need a safe space or that sort of thing. And so he had that, growing up well into his teens. And so I saw what the diet did for him. We tried it with Bryce. Again, this was very early on when he first got diagnosed, and we were still, our minds were spinning and we were trying everything. And I have to say that I wasn't seeing enough that it was outweighing the stress of trying to get him to eat anything and trying to...
I think we did see results, but we were just still in the... there should be a term for this, like the first month or two after you had the diagnosis. We should come up with an acronym for that, because it is just, you are in a fog and everything is overwhelming. And
you don't know. It's like we've said before, it's like driving without a map. It's like your GPS goes out and you're in a foreign land with no one to give you directions, and you're just hoping. Well, actually, then you find people giving you all kinds of directions, and it's almost like it's in a foreign language that you've never heard before, so you're not sure which road you're really supposed to take.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does feel like that, and you're just trying to go with your instincts and whatever you're feeling led to do. So, we tried it briefly
for about 30 days.
But we didn't commit to it, and I have no problem that we didn't at that time.
And I think that, where were we at in relation to his therapies being lined up and him going to speech?
At that time?
Yeah.
That was the time that it was being recommended, was by his therapist, but at the same time, he was starting to get his therapies.
Right.
So we were seeing progress in that way.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, we got the therapies rolling. We're moving forward. We're seeing progress. He's starting to use language now. Okay, let's take the stress off of us. I mean, let's be honest. It's hard as parents trying to do all this. So we even had one doctor tell us that he had a special needs child, and he goes, the last thing you need to do is stress yourself out more with trying to worry about diet. And I really understood where he was coming from, because that's true.
And I think what a lot of people run into is their child progresses, and then you have to ask yourself, are they progressing because of their age and their development? Or are they progressing because of something we intervened with? So we ask ourselves a lot.
We do.
And what brought the diet back to light for us was Bryce had lost all his therapies outside of school, and we had him on a regimen of supplements that we knew would help him, and we thought, well, we're kind of stagnant right now. Let's talk about going to see a doctor that specializes in autism. So that's when Dr. Rossignol came up, and he's a very well-known doctor here in Florida that sees specifically.
Actually, our nephew went to him back in the early 2000s.
So he is, I guess you would call him an autism doctor, because that's mainly who he sees.
Yes.
And so we found out how much he charged for a visit, and we thought, wow, we better have all of our ducks in a row by the time we go see him, because we don't want to waste any time or money
That was how the conversation went.
When we see him. So
hold on one moment. Hey, buddy.
Hi, Bryce.
Hello, Daddy. You want game day?
Can you play a different game?
Why do I want the game day?
Oh, can you play a different game for a little bit?
Let's try it, Daddy. Let's try it.
Why don't you play your race car game?
Can you come here for 1 minute and say hi?
No.
Come here and say hi to the people, and then Daddy will get your game.
Yep.
Hi, the people. Hi, people.
How's school?
How's school?
Is it good?
Is it good?
You tell them. Is school good?
Echolalia.
Is school good for you?
Yes, I think school is good for you.
Who's your teacher?
It's a nurses.
Miss Manessis.
Do you like
Very
Miss
good.
Manessis?
Yes.
Mercer nurses.
Oh, good.
Oh.
Okay, you did good, buddy.
All right.
Thank you for
We'll see you
sharing.
later.
Let's go get your game day at the same time.
Okay, we'll be back again.
You'll be back, Daddy.
Okay, we're back. And what you just heard from Bryce there was what's called echolalia. So when somebody asks him a question, he repeats the question. And what that means most of the time is that he doesn't understand the question. So he may or may not have understood what we were asking him, but we did get him to mention his teacher's name, which was good. But
it's either he doesn't understand it or he doesn't want to have any type of conversation, and so he's trying to move it along. But I think that was more like, I don't really know what you're asking me, so he just repeated it.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, we were talking about why we were going on the diet, and you were definitely nailing it, because I had gone to you and said, I just feel like I'm not doing enough for him right now. And I don't know what else I can do. And that's when you said, well, maybe we can take him to, the doctor, one of the special doctors. And I ask you, well, what do you think they're going to say to us?
Right.
And you said, well, I think they're going to ask us if we did the gluten-free, casein-free diet. And I'm like, well, then I think that's what we should do.
But backing up a little bit there is what I did was I was browsing around his website.
Yeah.
And he has this article on there, Diagnosis Autism, Now What? A Simplified Biomedical Approach. So it's an article that he wrote about 10 years ago, back in 2009. And it talks about what he suggests as early interventions, which you can try.
Yes.
So we just felt like we were in a stagnant period. Bryce was not progressing anymore, and he was just kind of leveled out. And we're like, okay, well, we're in a routine. What else can we do?
Yeah, you guys shake it up a little bit sometimes.
Yeah. So,
and what was neat about that was, okay, we agreed. Let's do this diet. Let's really commit to it. And are we 100% perfect? No. I mean, honestly, today he had a slice of pizza after church as a treat. But that does not happen every day now. That happens periodically, at the most once a week. And sometimes it'll go longer than that. We really tightened it up because we wanted to be able to see if we could see any differences. But what was also really cool about that, in my opinion, is when you went and did that research about him, because his name came up in conversation, you found that list there. Mm-hmm. And it's like a checklist of supplements, basically. And so we're looking at it, and we have Bryce pretty much on everything that he recommended, but he also gave how much we should be giving him.
Right.
And what was very interesting about that was that it has to do with weight. And what we learned by reading that is, oh man, it reminded us of when Bryce was on seizure medication, because his backstory, if you don't know it, was that he had a brain hemorrhage right after he was born. And so then that resulted in continuous seizures. He
episode 1 or 2.
Yeah, episode 1, if you go back. Yeah. And and so he was on seizure medication for basically 2 years. And we had to change his dose all the time depending on his weight. And in fact, I remember the doctor would take out a calculator and he would like da, 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 and then he'd be like, okay, this is how much you need to give him now, because it all has to do with body weight. We had no idea on these supplements that we've been giving him that we weren't giving him enough based on the information that you found because of the weight. And now you have the formula. I mean, I felt like that was like such a God gift to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we didn't have to go and see the doctor to receive that. Like, God led you to it on the internet. That's pretty amazing.
So maybe what we can do is put a link to that in our show notes. I'll go back and find the link to that article.
I think that would be a great resource. And, so at least people can check it out.
Get a baseline.
They can get a baseline and they can get an idea. And again, I just want to say that the reason why we have Bryce on the supplements that we have, part of it is because, yes, it's what someone has recommended, but it's also because we had testing done on him to show what deficiencies he had. And he has deficiencies like in vitamin D and in L-carnitine. And you know, we learned that vitamin C, he burns that off so quickly that we've added more vitamin C beyond what he gets in his food, because that helps him with his anxiety. And he has major anxiety, which I know a lot of you parents out there also have children that deal with the anxiety. So it's been encouraging. I feel like because we had that discussion and because, you know, you did some research on that and we found that article and we made those changes and increased the supplements and really, and I created a chart, which I think is on our website and under the tools, right? For the gluten-free, dairy-free.
Yeah.
Well, I printed it out to be on the refrigerator for a visual for us and marking it Monday through Sunday. And, you know, if we did go outside of the diet, then we would write what he had that had gluten or had dairy.
And if anybody out there wants one custom made for them, we'll do it for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just shoot us an email of what supplements you're doing, and Sandy can whip it up in printable format for you and just email it back to you.
We would love to be able to do that for you. I'm telling you, having tools on your refrigerator as a visual reminder for the parent when so much is going on helps. So we have, you know, the gluten-free, dairy-free one, and then we also have the one for all the supplements, and that really keeps us on track. And then if I'm walking through the kitchen and I see it's not marked, because usually Chris, you'll give it to him each day, then I'll say, has Bryce had it today? And you'll be like, no, he didn't have enough food and I had to go do this, but it's like a reminder to help us both stay on top of it and make sure he gets everything that he needs each day.
I don't like to give him his supplements if all he's had is grapefruit or something like that that's not as filling to where his stomach can handle vitamins. So you don't want to take vitamins on an empty stomach.
Yeah, nobody likes to do that. And, he can't really tell us that he's nauseous, but it would show, in his behaviors.
So I think what our plan is for the immediate future is to check all the boxes from Dr. Rosignol's article. Just make sure we're on the right track. And maybe at some point next year, we'll be ready to set an appointment with him. And, I'm sure from 10 years ago, this article was written. There's definitely been some more discoveries, and he'll be able to see Bryce and how he is, and maybe there's some tests that we haven't done that he knows about now, or he already knew and we just didn't know. But I believe it's like taking your kid to an encyclopedia, and he can tell us, hey,
someone full of all the knowledge.
Yes, you're on the right track. Or, hey, this is the only other test that most kids on the spectrum get, and we see lots of results in this area. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, and I feel like just seeing progress that we have made has been very encouraging, because he's definitely speaking in longer sentences for sure. He's still not conversational where it goes back and forth, but he is talking much more, and he's a lot more alert. It's kind of been a catch-22, which we had talked recently about his anxiety and increasing. And I think that's because changing his diet has brought him out of his fog, and all of that ADD as much. And now he hears more, he sees more, he's a lot more aware of his surroundings. And because of that, he lives with a lot of fear. It really is some type of fear, because he's always saying it's not safe and it's dangerous. He could not tell us before that we changed this diet and everything, for sure. So it's come out. It's been a great revelation.
Yeah, so now he can tell us, he feels like it's dangerous, but he just sometimes he can't tell us why he thinks it's dangerous.
Yeah, we're trying to get more of the whys. But we haven't recorded in the past 2 weeks because school started and it's been kind of crazy. He's doing great, which we're thrilled to share. But he started mainstream kindergarten with support, so it's very different for him. He's sitting at a desk, with other students. And he now leaves the classroom to go to other rooms for what they call resource. And so there's a variety of resources where he will have PE, he has the library, he has some art technology class, but the kicker one was music class, which I didn't see the list in advance, and I can't even say that it would have hit me. But as soon as Chris got the text with the picture of Bryce with Mrs. Manessa sitting in the classroom with their little selfie saying that all the other kids were in music class and Bryce didn't want to go in there because it wasn't safe, it hit me that he does not like live music, and he doesn't. The instruments, something about the sound of the instruments is very upsetting to him. And again, we don't know if it actually hurts his ears, but it's not good.
We didn't really get all of the details. All we know that he approached the music room and the door was closed, and they didn't even get to open the door, and he was already bolting
screaming,
to leave school.
It's not safe, and trying to leave the school.
Yeah. So that was an immediate concern for us. So if you follow our Parenting Autism Facebook page and Instagram, I did some posts on there, but Chris was very proactive on this, and he asked the special needs coordinator to meet that day after school. And although they couldn't get him into the classroom, they put the headphones on him so he would feel more secure.
and they took him to the door. And
Through
then,
the back way.
Through a back way, a different way. So they at least got him that far, but he's very smart. So he knew what they were doing. And the brakes were on, and they didn't push him any further. They got him that far on that Tuesday, the same day. And then they did it again 3 days later on Friday. And this time they got him in the classroom, and he played the letter B on the xylophone. And he played maraca. I think he shook a maraca. And there was an airplane in the picture that Chris sent me of him. And I said, genius to put something that he loves in the music room. And he texted me back and said, it wasn't me, it was God. And there was an airplane in the music room, a toy airplane. And if you have listened to our podcast at all, you will know that Bryce loves airplanes right now. That is like one of his absolute favorite things. So it was like he had something that he felt secure and safe with inside the room. And so when he went to school on Tuesday, he went back to music class, and we started prepping him Monday night. And then Tuesday morning, all the way there, we were coaching him and cheering him on and telling him it would be safe. And he had a big incentive on the backside of school to go help Mr. Brian at church, which is one of his favorite things to do. And he did want Miss Reels to go, which is his special needs coordinator, but she didn't have to stay. She got him there, and he stayed with the classroom. So, it's like it was a big victory for us, and we're so happy about that. But a lot of this has come tying back to the diet, because I feel like he's so much more aware of everything. Yeah.
So let's let that lead into what his diet is like here at the Coulter Hotel.
Yes. What do we serve up at the Coulter Hotel? So one of his favorite foods now, and it's a major go-to right now, is hot dogs. And some people may cringe at that, like Chris, but listen, I grew up on hot dogs. I'm like, listen, dude, I grew up on hot dogs. It's one of my favorite foods. But we get the all beef, and we get the ones that are uncured, so it doesn't have the nitrates in it.
There's no nitrates or nitrates added.
So it's, it's the healthiest
so if you look
version
at the
of a hot dog.
There's no nitrates listed.
So there really is a difference, and there's options out there. And he's very good with that. And he doesn't need a bun. He will be happy to eat the hot dogs. And then we have been giving him fries that are baked here, because we don't have to worry about them like out in the restaurant. They'll say they're not gluten-free if they're in a deep fryer with something else that has gluten, like breaded items. Here at the house, we can pop them in the toaster oven, and we know that they're fine. And he likes that. That's definitely one of his go-to meals. But,
let's start with breakfast. Breakfast can be a grapefruit. He loves grapefruits, and everybody is surprised that he loves grapefruits. And that's probably me, because I like grapefruit too. So that was one of his first foods that he started to like, that was outside the box. And when I grew up, my dad always used to put sugar on top. And so I'm like, well, the ruby red grapefruit is a little sweeter than the regular grapefruit. Let's try that without sugar. And he just went for it all the way. And he loves his grapefruit. And even regular grapefruit, not the red ones, he will eat without sugar, without hesitation. So that has been a blessing.
Yeah.
Also, for morning, he can eat oatmeal with blueberries. He likes that. And sometimes we'll put a little brown sugar in there to give it some sweetness.
Or pure maple syrup
is
a better alternative.
Is a better alternative, or honey.
Or pure honey, and he loves pure honey.
Yeah.
So we've actually been swapping out the brown sugar to put in the syrup or the honey.
And then we'll put in, but we'll slice a half a banana and put that in there too.
Yep.
So he's getting banana, blueberries, and oatmeal, which is gluten-free. For breakfast.
Yep. And then eggs.
And eggs. He also likes eggs and bacon, and sometimes sausage. He's kind of on the fence about sausage, but I know he likes bacon and he likes eggs. So those are some breakfast options that we've been doing for him.
And what I want to say also is, like, I know those are defined as breakfast, but if your child likes those foods, who cares what time of day they eat them? So Bryce would come home and have eggs and bacon for lunch. last year
He is
in between
not,
schools.
he doesn't care.
We're just telling you what breakfast foods he will eat because they're under the category of breakfast food. But again, he'll eat a grapefruit in the afternoon. He'll want a grapefruit in the evening. He'll eat eggs he had eggs for dinner last night when he stayed with my parents because we'll pack his snacks when he goes someplace. But I said to Mom, if he gets extra hungry, just, scramble him a couple of eggs. And it works. And most people have eggs at their house.
Yeah.
And it's not like a high maintenance, difficult situation. So you kind of find those easier foods and it's not as complicated as you think it might be.
Right. And he doesn't have to have like ketchup or anything on his eggs. He'll eat plain eggs. I put a little salt on them to give him some flavor. But we
introduce plain.
Yeah.
And if we can get by with plain, we don't try to add sauces or dips.
Right.
He does like what he calls dip with the pure maple syrup to go with his gluten-free pancakes.
Yeah.
And we have found like gluten-free, dairy-free pancake options that we can make at home. And again, that can be dinner, that can be breakfast, that can be lunch. It's just that sort of thing.
Yeah. And some of the pancake mixes that are gluten-free, they still tell you to add milk or whatever. But we found that they're still very good with just water.
Yes.
And skip the dairy. So that's been good. Like Sandy said, he has hot dogs.
And we cut out the nuggets altogether. However, now at Chick-fil-A, he'll eat the grilled nuggets.
Which are gluten-free.
So we're good.
Yeah.
So we've crossed that.
Yeah.
That bridge to where now we've got a place that he can eat chicken out.
Right.
And he's not looking for the other kind of deep, breaded, fried nuggets.
And most recently, I've started making stir fry with chicken, just chicken breast cut up, bell pepper. So like a red bell pepper, or yellow bell pepper, or orange bell pepper. Sometimes you get those 3-packs. So I'll slice off a side of a bell pepper and chop that up. Put some onion in there, some yellow onion. And Sandy likes mushrooms, so when she eats with us, I'll put mushrooms in it because I can tolerate mushrooms, but it's not my favorite thing. And Bryce likes them. So I'll use some avocado oil.
And you put broccoli in there too.
Oh, yeah, broccoli. Yes, that's the main
that's the big
deal
one
right there.
Yeah.
So chop all that up. Put it in the pan with the chicken all at the same time. And I just stir fry it in avocado oil, and it's really good, and he likes it. We serve it with white rice, steamed rice, because we have a pressure cooker. I think it's called a power cooker, but it has a rice setting on it. So I put a cup of rice in there. Put your water in, hit the rice button, and like 10 minutes later, the rice is ready, and it's perfect sticky rice. It's really good. So, and, while we were, putting all these meals together, we did a spreadsheet because, we're on a budget. And so we wanted to make sure we were getting the best value for our dollar. And this is another thing that we can put in the resources on our website is this awesome spreadsheet that Sandy and I put together. We're very fortunate because we have here in the States, we have an Aldi, and we have a Walmart neighborhood market, and we also have a Publix supermarket, probably just within a few miles of our house. So very fortunate to have all those three places here to choose from as far as groceries go. But what we did was we did the spreadsheet, and we calculated how much everything costs per pound, even down to the ounce. If it's like a jar of something or a bottle of something that's measured in ounces. So we get the price per ounce, and we compared all the prices in our area. I can speak to our area here in Port St. Lucie, and Aldi just won hands down from
even better than Sam's, because we compared to Sam's as well.
Better than Sam's, better than Walmart. Hands down are the cheapest, and they have good products. They have gluten-free products. And the meats are the least expensive of all. So I really didn't know that. We heard through the grapevine that Aldi was great, but until we crunched all those numbers, we really didn't know for sure. But and Aldi does not carry everything that you would get from a grocery store, but I would say the majority of the stuff that you need you can find at the Aldi stores.
Very high majority, especially meats and produce.
Yeah.
And then most of the snacks that he likes is there as well. But there are a few that we have to go to Walmart for. The
gluten-free cookies.
yes, and he really,
Oh, the yogurts.
he likes the yogurt. He likes the almond milk yogurt.
Yeah. Is that by Silk?
Yeah, and it's a dark chocolate coconut flavor. He doesn't
Yeah.
care for the vanilla, but he loves the dark chocolate one,
yeah.
and he thinks to him it's like chocolate ice cream.
It's amazing. It's like a dessert. So,
and actually, that's what we pack for his school lunch, because that's a question was, what are we going to do for him for lunches? Because,
Right.
again, people have these lunch labels, and we briefly mentioned earlier that peanut butter sent him to the emergency room. Well, peanuts sent him to the emergency room.
Yeah.
He has a major allergy.
so we're limited.
So we can't do the typical peanut butter and jelly sandwich, even if it was gluten-free bread, finding that without dairy and gluten. And then I don't really want him having straight up jelly either. So we went away from that. And I'm like, it doesn't matter to me if it's deemed a quote unquote meal. What are foods that we can pack that he will eat? So we give him a variety. And the yogurt he eats every day. We put a cold pack in there. We put a spoon. We put his yogurt. That never comes back home.
Right.
He eats that every
Always
day.
eats that.
We will try other things. One day he ate a banana, but after that he didn't want the banana anymore.
Right.
Okay. He does like his chips, but he doesn't eat all the chips every day.
Mm-hmm.
And we've tried a few different things.
Grapes we put in there.
Grapes was a big
He
winner.
likes grapes.
We put the grapes in
last
there.
year, he really liked the beef stick or the
Like
beef
jerky.
jerky. So we were buying the grass-fed beef sticks off of Amazon, and he was eating those last year. But this school year,
He's come home most days.
Yeah, so he's not really
we went
into
off
that.
of that. But today I picked him up gluten-free pretzels at Aldi's. And so we're going to switch that up. I'm going to take the chips out tomorrow, and I'm going to put the pretzels in. So that way
Right.
he still has something crunchy, because I want that sensory, because yogurt is soft.
Right.
So if he's only getting soft foods, I'm afraid he'll go back to eating his shirt. So,
Right.
we got to give him that balance of soft and hard. But that's worked out really well. And yes, there is a gluten-free, dairy-free cookie. And I'm going to put the link on there as well for the two that we have gotten for him that he really likes. They're good. And I'm sure there may be others out there. But what's great too is, like, for example, this week we got a note from his teacher saying that somebody was celebrating a birthday in the class already. And she said, is there something that you can send with Bryce so that he feels like he's included? Well, just pack one of those cookies and he's perfectly
Right.
fine, and he doesn't need a cupcake.
The cookies are a treat. He gets them very seldomly. So when he does get them, it is a treat.
It is a
And he
treat
likes
for him,
those.
and that's how we want it to be. Not a
Right.
daily thing, but that's something that he gets to
And
look forward to.
I think one thing that we need to point out too is when you go gluten-free, you can find a whole gluten-free section in the grocery store, but that does not mean that everything in that section is good for you. Look
'Cause
at
it's
the
still
ingredients.
processed as well.
Yes, look at the ingredients. Make sure you can pronounce the ingredients, that you recognize the ingredients. Some of those things, I don't even know what they put together to make it look like a cookie or whatever the product is. But, when the list of ingredients covers the whole back of the package, I would steer away from that. But
That's why I found the Lara bars, which I love. And personally, I do love those. And it's all natural ingredients. And it's like from 3 to 5 ingredients.
and he likes one of
And
those.
you know them all. Yeah. And
Which
so
one does he
they
like?
had the kids too. So I got the chocolate chip one. And then they had like it reminded me of like a snickerdoodle candy or cookie with the cinnamon.
Okay.
And he ate all of those too. Those did not come back.
Okay, good.
So that was
Yeah.
a good sign.
And then another thing that he likes too is noodles. So we found this great spiral quinoa brown rice noodle, and it cooks like a noodle.
Yep.
It looks like a noodle. It tastes like a noodle. It has 2 or 3 ingredients: rice and quinoa, and I don't know, maybe one other thing in it. I don't know what it is.
It's very healthy.
You mix that with some great pasta sauce, and you can throw some meat in it if you want, but he will eat that straight up, and he likes that a lot.
He does. So that's another quote unquote meal, is like that pasta meal that he will eat. He loves sweet potatoes.
Oh, yeah. That's a good
that's
one.
another thing. Like, since he was a year old and started eating regular foods, we would get him sweet potatoes at restaurants. That's what we would get him as his meal, because we're like, why are we going to spend money and donate to the restaurant for a kid's meal that he's not going to eat?
Yeah.
But we could get a sweet potato, and if he didn't eat it, I would. But, it was good.
We would order him chicken tenders or whatever, and he would not eat it.
No.
He wasn't eating hamburgers. He wasn't eating whatever. But now we can give him a lot of good stuff. And like you said, he likes hot dogs.
He does. He likes popcorn, okay. But popcorn is, especially if you pop it at home and put it in little baggies, I think that's a great snack to have on hand for the kids. That's
and it's
gluten-free
crunchy. It gives
and
them
dairy-free.
feedback.
Yep. So those are some ideas of what we've done for him, and I'm sure there's more. And again, we're kind of early into this journey, and I was even doing some research for this podcast, and there's a lot of blog posts out there of parents who have already trudged down this road that are sharing it. I think people just kind of want to know, is it worth it? I mean, does it work for every child? I'm sure it doesn't. But I'm sure it does work for some. But for us,
here's the benefit.
Let's try.
Is if you're going gluten-free, generally, that means you're going to eat healthier. And Sandy and I are trying to eat healthier now.
Yeah.
So the meals that we're eating are generally gluten-free, dairy-free, because Sandy can't have dairy either.
Right.
So dairy's out. And so we cook our meals, and if it meets gluten-free, casein-free for Bryce, then he eats with us. He eats part of that meal, and it's really good.
Yep. So the only other thing that I was going to just discuss on this podcast was, I was asking you the other day, because, you'll say, he's on a gluten-free, casein-free diet. I'm like, well, what is the difference between casein and dairy? I mean, isn't it a gluten-free, dairy-free diet?
Drum roll, please.
Okay, so I did my research. So I learned that dairy is made of products, which includes casein and lactose and whey. So if a label says that it is dairy-free, then it is casein-free.
Also casein-free.
But if it says
George,
hi, baby. If it is casein-free,
Hi, Bryce.
that does not mean that it's dairy-free.
Let's stop to the control tower.
And there
Want me
may
to
still
talk to
be
the control
lactose
tower?
in there.
Talk to the control
Okay.
tower. It's going to crash.
So Bryce, not only is he going to be an astronaut, but he might be an air traffic controller.
Say, excuse me.
Hey, go down.
Bryce, say please.
Please.
Okay.
We'll be right back. Okay, we're back.
Yes, so what I was saying was, I really wanted to know what's the difference when people say a gluten-free, casein-free diet versus gluten-free, dairy-free, because I see a lot of labels that say dairy-free, but not casein-free. And so when I researched that, I saw that dairy has casein in it. But if you see casein-free, it could still have other parts of dairy in it. And so, I know I personally am lactose intolerant. So if it was casein-free, but there's still lactose in it, it would not be a good story for me. So just know that when you're looking at your labels, if you see dairy-free, you're home-free, you're good. So to me, Bryce is on a dairy-free, gluten-free diet, not a casein-free, gluten-free diet, because that's
Right.
what I'm looking for. So just to clarify that, because really there was some questions on that, and it probably just depends who's sharing it.
Yeah.
But for the record, it's GFDF in the Colzer Hotel. So
Not GFCF. But anyway, whenever Bryce had dairy, milk, any type of milk or cheese, his face would break out really bad. So
I think his bowels binded as well.
Yeah, and we knew if it was bad on the outside, then it would have to be bad on the inside.
Yes, has to be bad on the inside, because that's how it affects me. So, yeah, we're really happy that we've done this. Again, we're not that deep into it, but it's probably been at least 3 or 4 months now that we've been doing this. We're seeing positive things, but we're always watching and observing and seeing what's going to happen. He's going to be starting therapies again soon, so that's a big praise in our house, is that our prayers were answered and his insurance has been changed once again so that we can get ABA services and get more language for him. And so, I'm sure we'll be sharing some more on that. And we're also going to be having guests coming onto the podcast in the near future as well. And we're getting some topics together for that. So we're really excited just about all the things that are going on in our world, and we want to let you guys know that. And if this is your first time, we hope that you'll subscribe and continue to follow us. Maybe go back and catch some episodes, especially episode 1 and 2, which is our story and how we got started, on this journey. And then there's others that follow. And if you've listened before and you keep coming back, we thank you so much, because it means so much when we hear from you. And, I've been connecting with people from all over. And today I connected with a lovely family from Nigeria. And she is so faith-filled, and she inspires me, and that's what I love. I need the encouragement as well. And, we're able to go out and God leads us to each other to help on this journey, and I'm just so grateful for that. So a shout out to all of you who have reached out to us, and we thank you.
And another way that they can give us encouragement, Sandy, is by leaving a review on iTunes.
It really would help.
Those are very encouraging. The ones that we've received already, those just keep us moving forward. And
it helps other people find us. I don't like to sit on here and beg for that, but it does help. So
yeah, it sure does.
Yeah, we would really appreciate that.
So we're gonna take that spreadsheet where you can analyze your grocery store costs wherever you live. We're gonna put that on our website, which is parentingautismshow.com. So just give us maybe a few days to get that on there. We may get it on there today, but you can plug in your own meats and potatoes, if you will, and compare the costs around your city. We're all on a budget, and if we can save here or there and get the same products, then we're all for it.
That's the truth. Well, thanks again for tuning in. We hope you have a wonderful day or night or whatever time it may be, but we look forward to chatting to you again soon.
That's it for episode 24. We'll see you next time.
Bye.